Wow. Okay. Hopefully this, I'm coming back. Hopefully I'm back here. I'll try and refresh this. Okay. All right. Looks like maybe I'm back. Am I back? You guys there? I hope. Oh, come on. Trying to watch myself at the same time. Am I back yet? Okay. All right. All right. Cool. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I got to figure out the programs, all these little programs. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm back. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So to pick back up, you guys, I'm hoping that you guys saw that video. I really hope you did. So Senator Dick Durbin, and it's not just him. I mean, it's all of them. They are all this way. So, you know, it's not just Senator Dick Durbin on this count. And all of these people, they all are guilty. Every single one of them. And they're all, you know, they all want to try and blame the right for all of this, but these are completely leftist ideologies. Everything that this person did outside of the use of a AR-15 and what people subscribe as being a white supremacist. Again, I mean, there are white supremacists on both sides. They're all there. Racism, unfortunately, does exist, although I have yet to actually find somebody who is admittedly this way. But the key here is to understand that the whole idea of an authoritarianism ideology is all on the left. It's all from the left. And if you dig deep enough and understand the parts that the mainstream media are leaving out is more important than what they try to put in, that is where we can all come together and realize that these people are just disgusting, abject liars about all of this stuff. So kind of keeping that in mind is the main crux of this particular piece of the show for tonight. I just want to kind of leave you with that thought, that don't fall into the idea that the left is not the party of hate, is not the party of authoritarianism, that the right doesn't have the true right, the conservative right does not have any of these. We believe in individual freedom. We believe in religion. We believe in the family unit. We believe in all of the things that are antithetical to all of what the left believes. Okay. Now there is another part, and so I'm gonna set that aside for just a second. I'm gonna take a sip of my drink here just to kind of let that sort of marinate a little bit. All right. And yes, this individual who did this is very, very sick. He should have been referred. In fact, in the manifesto, he does talk about it, and he was known to law enforcement. Again, known to law enforcement. Hang on just a second. I'm gonna shut the door to the studio. He is definitely disturbed and needed help, needed mental help. He was referred to get mental help, and he didn't get it, unfortunately. Okay. So now, let me see. That's just funny. When everything dies, it literally dies. This is interesting. Anyway. Okay. So let me move on to my next story. Now, this in particular, is kind of interesting. So this particular story, is totally out of the realm of what we were just talking about. But, the left, and especially the Democrats, they've been talking about these electric vehicles, and they want everything to go electric, and we should be installing solar and wind and all of these other powers. Okay. So if you go and take a look, though, there's an article, and I'm going to bring it up here. Give me just a second, because I didn't have it quite planned for this, but I see that I've got a little bit of time left, so I wanted to make sure that I can get to it. Okay. So where am I at? Here we go. So take a look at this. So this story comes from the Foundation for Economic Education, and this is something that all of us need to pay attention to and realize. The U.S. is facing electricity shortages heading into summer as grid operators warn of limits of green energy. Now, this is very apropos. I've talked about this on the show in the past, and I've mentioned this before, in that green energy is not that sustainable, that I've spoken to individual electric providers, and these people have said multiple times that the whole idea of windmills, that the idea of, in our case up here in the Northwest, we do a lot of hydroelectric dams. These are not sustainable energy sources, meaning that they cannot produce the power that is required by our grid, even at current levels, because they don't have, on a pound for pound basis, the same energy producing power that something such as coal, oil, or gas can do. And this is something that unfortunately the Democrats in particular, and biggest guy, honestly, who's really after this is the governor of my state, Governor Inslee. He's really, really pushing this. And this is ridiculous. So the thing about it is, though, is that if you have ever looked at California, if you have ever looked at even Texas when they got really, really cold this past winter and had electrical problems, we have an aging grid system. We have a push toward green energy that is detrimental to our electrical needs, and especially if you start pushing cars. Now, there's another article that I link in the description. I'm not going to pull it up, but it talks about how electric cars themselves are not nearly as green as what everybody thinks. Now, I'm going to admit this. I have a hybrid car, but I don't have a hybrid car with the express purpose of being green. I have a hybrid car because of the fact that it gets just stellar gas mileage in today's day and age. And I was driving a lot, like 120 miles round trip on an almost daily basis at one point. So my reasons were more practical in nature, not necessarily from a social justice warrior kind of idea. But at the same time, though, I understand that our electrical grid is going to have problems if we go to all of these EVs, all these electric vehicles. Okay. And we cannot sustain this. Now, I found an interesting little thing, and I'm going to, just for the sake of ease here, I went over to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, and I pulled one of their frequently asked questions, because I was kind of interested to figure out, hey, you know, we've got this push. We've got this push toward green energy. And how much do we actually have in the country that is green energy? And so this came up, and this is from the EIA's Frequently Asked Questions page. What is the U.S. electricity generation by energy source? Now, this is based off of 2021, okay, numbers, and about 61 of this energy, of the electricity generation, was from fossil fuels. That means coal, oil, or coal, natural gas, petroleum, and other gases. About 19% was from nuclear energy, which, by the way, would be the best choice overall if you want to, quote, go green, okay? Or I should say get off of fossil fuels. But 20% of what was left over was from renewable energy sources. And this chart kind of shows that and demonstrates it. So fossil fuels, they have a share of total energy of 60.8 right over here in the corner where you can see the orange flashing. And then down here, nuclear was at 18.9%. And then renewables, all renewables. So that's wind, hydropower, solar, voltaic, solar thermal, biomass, wood, landfill gas, biogenic fuels, biomass waste, geothermal, etc., is all up here at 20%. Now, if we're going to make a push toward green energy, we have to figure out a way to be able to replace this 60% up here with efficient green energy fuel sources to be able to produce the electricity. But just like in the idea of electric cars not being all that green, you would have the same thing with all of these renewable resources, because you have to take the energy that's produced by wind, hydropower, solar, solar thermal energy, pretty much anything except geothermal energy, and you have to figure out a way to store that for when it's used. For an example, the wind doesn't blow all the time. There is no place on earth where the wind blows 100% of the time. Same thing goes for hydropower. You can't power the dam all the time. There are times where water levels are going to be lower than normal, and so you can't get enough pressure to be able to turn the turbines in order to turn on the dam. Solar, the sun goes away for 12 hours a day on average across a year. So they have to figure out a way to store this. Now, that's the thing, is that those storage facilities are made out of batteries. They're made out of heavy metals, just like electric vehicles are. So I maintain that although it's a noble cause, our technology and our understanding of technology at this point, until we come up with something like, dilithium crystals, we're not going to be able to go over to green energy. And what's even worse is, and I pulled this article out of the show notes mainly just because I didn't think I was going to make it to this, but I pulled an article at one point that talks about the polluters of the world. And the top 4 that are listed in that study is China, which makes basically twice as many in particular of carbon emissions, so CO2 emissions. They emit twice as many as the number 2 slot, which is the United States. And then following closely behind us is Russia and then India. Now, worldwide, in terms of that, most of China's carbon emissions comes from coal. They use coal on a regular basis. And I can tell you, in places like Beijing and even in Shanghai, where I've been to, they issue air quality reports. They have all kinds of issues with air quality over there in China because of the coal-fired plants. And what's even worse is there are pictures from space during COVID where all the plants were shut down and manufacturing was pretty much null and void while China was going through COVID. There's spots in China that were actually photographed from space for the very first time ever because the air quality had cleaned up so much. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm basically saying that for all of the green energy pushes that we make over here, for all of the green energy things that we want to do here, we will never be able to lower the greenhouse gases for the entire world until we get China in check. Now, the Paris Accords, China did sign on to them. But the reality of it is that they account for 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions, meaning the CO2 emissions that are being tracked for the entire world. That one single country accounts for 30% across the globe. And they committed to only dropping to 20% across the globe as part of the Paris Accords. We are already down much farther than that. And so anything further that we try to make, even though it's a noble cause, it's going to fail for many reasons. Our electrical grid is not going to be able to handle the demands on the power for the EV vehicles. Our electrical grid is aging anyway. Realistically, it should all be replaced. But all of that stuff is going to do nothing if China, Russia, and India are not part of that initiative. And I keep telling our wonderful governor on Twitter every single time he talks about his climate initiatives and his electric vehicles. If he cannot figure out a way to get those countries on board with America to try and cut this down, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So no matter what we do, it's not really going to help. We're already doing better than a lot of the countries that are out there. Can we do better against ourselves? Sure. But the idea that what we do is going to make a total global effect without those other countries signing on is a fallacy. And it's something that we need to address from a global perspective. That is my final Whiskey Musings thought for the night. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I don't know what the heck happened. One of the programs that I did just sort of decided to lock up on me. But that being said, thank you very much. Oh, buddy, you always bring me a laugh. Anyway, that being the case, I do want to pull this up. So Five Boys actually brought this up because here, let me get back to my other page. So Five Boys brought this up. I saw this as well. Whoops. Wait a second. Hang on. I lost something. Give me just a second. I got to get to, where's my docs? There it is. And I want this. Okay. I was finishing up, but okay. So, Five Boys in the chat on Rumble brought this up. And yes, I saw that as well. I saw the Epic report saying that our air is now cleaner and that they have a study that shows that the cleaner air is causing more disturbances in the air, like the hurricanes and the tornadoes. Now that's interesting because, and I'm going to have to read that article for sure because of the fact that that is counterintuitive to what the climate change people are trying to say. They're saying that there's more storms because humans are are impacting things more. And if that's the case, if we're cleaning up our air and it's causing more issues, that's an interesting angle to definitely take a look at. You should read that article in the Epic Times. That's one of my favorite news places. But anyway, so in fact, I might even do after I investigate that a little bit more, that might be a topic for the show. Do me a favor, if you like the podcast, if you like what I'm doing, again, I apologize for the technical difficulties, but if you like what I'm doing, please do me a favor. Sign up for Rumble. It's free. Subscribe to the channel. That's free too. The other thing is, if you have a desire to purchase one of the products, whether it's the Constitution, where is that? The Constitution of the United States. Okay. Whether it's the Constitution or if it's one of my logoed gear or even like a sweatshirt like this, do me a favor, check out for the Constitution, go to constitution.whiskeymusings.online. If you're looking for the sweatshirts and logoed gear, go to store.whiskeymusings.online. And if you want to drop me a line, send me an email, fans, F-A-N-S, fans at whiskeymusings, all one word, .online. And we'll see you Saturday night, 6 p.m. for the Armed Services celebration. We'll see you next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night, everybody.